The role of typesetting in the information age is very interesting just because the printed word has validity and almost authority on its own. I'm actually using older techniques, so movable type, printing presses. So for me, they have a physical reality because I'm using, physically, like each character is an ornament, is a piece of lead. But I think you sort of across time into, current times, that printed word has an authority. So how you use typefaces and different fonts to, sort of finesse and, adjust the voice can be very, very interesting and also very powerful. I'm working in printmaking in the book form, so artist books, books that are conceived of as works of art. And my subject matter is really focused on contemporary and historical racism, really focused on the United States, but also looking at the slave trade, so the Atlantic slave trade. I'm located right now in Rhode Island, and Rhode Island has a very strong history of being participants within the slave trade and also really accumulating wealth through that participation. Building up ships, coming to West Africa, purchasing slaves. There's a point where actually Rhode Island rum becomes kind of like the currency of the trade, surpassing other European liquors. My design's combating racism by fostering dialogue and really giving people sort of a moment, even if they just look at a spread or a page or a few pages, they can at least sort of be part of the conversation for a moment about racism and possibly take that away, whether they just talk about the experience of touching, a page, the tactility of like a letterpress text, and maybe they start with that part of the conversation versus, well, this is horrible and I'm not a racist, where they can sort of have an experience that they can share and sort of slowly get into the conversation, possibly, especially for people who really would not want to be part of that conversation. There are other ways to sort of bring them into the dialogue. I use my background in architectural history and design really foremost in my process, even just how I conceive of a project. I very much sort of see it as a project with users, with end users. For myself, I try to keep it kind of interesting and fun, so I give myself sort of parameters, sort of the guidelines of the project. And very much model making and mock-ups are part of my process, and that very much comes from my background. So for me, if I'm using different materials, wanting to sort of push size parameters, maybe there's a new technique to me, I very much make mock-ups, so little models, to see if it's working, but also to make sure that I'm getting kind of like the quality that I'm wanting. Maybe if I'm using a new binding that I'm not familiar with, that's my chance to kind of practice before I'm moving to the final piece.